feels like every single year I watch builders do the exact same thing when it comes to how they position themselves in the market to start the year. And on the surface, it makes absolutely zero sense. And to be honest, it's kind of frustrating and in some ways kind of stupid. Every year also, when I see buyers that understand this, they win, right? So I want to talk you through some of the things that I see builders do to kind of start the year that may be confusing to a lot of people, that may be flat out dumb in other places. And I'm just going to call it out. And I want to show you how you can actually use that to your advantage. This is about understanding not like a blame thing, but this is about understanding a behavior. And this behavior shows up in Prosper, Salina, Rockwall, Waxahachie, North Lake. It shows up all over the map in DFW, and especially applies to some of our like production builder partner friends. So I want to talk you through it. Some of these mistakes, I think I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 9. I got 9 things to kind of give you, and just frankly, we're going to call it out for what it is, and I'm going to show you how to use it to your advantage to win when it comes to buying a new home in DFW in 2026. If we haven't met before, my name is Zach. My team and I, we sell new construction real estate. That's all we do. So if you have questions, you can always reach out to us. We're here to help any way we can. So section number 1, thing that I think is, frankly, we're just gonna call it what it is. We're gonna call it stupid. January, we call this their January price resets, right? So like if you've been watching neighborhoods and you're watching builder websites, you look at them at the end of the year and it's like, oh man, it just dropped and it just dropped again and it just dropped again. And then all of a sudden January hits and the one house you were looking at that was, below 600 is now back above like 670. And you're like, wait a minute. What happened? And you're kind of confused. And it's like, well, what they were trying to do was they were trying to incentivize people to move before the end of the year. And then they didn't sell the home. And now they're carrying the inventory into the new calendar year. And they're like, oh, well, we got it for this year. Might as well just run it back up and see what we can do. And you're like, this makes no sense, right? It didn't sell in December at that price. So magically in January, let's just raise the price back up and see what happens. And then also you end up seeing them like lagging behind on their incentives. It's like the calendar doesn't turn over and like traffic just poof, magically increase and a ton more people start walking through the door. So it's like, why do you guys choose to do this? So like they feel like, oh, well, that was kind of slow. And then everybody comes out of the gate in January and it's like, oh, just kind of like a slow start to the year. And it's like, no, guys, if you would like continue to be aggressive, you could probably get more people in the door. And you guys as buyers would probably be like, hey, we're ready to roll, right? Here's what I don't want you to assume. I don't want you to assume that you don't panic and that you missed the deal. Like you're fine. We can still figure this out. We can still navigate it. A lot of people, as they come into the spring, they're like, oh, the spring is going to help. We're going to pick up some traffic. And that's usually true. So if you're watching this like early in the year, 2026, you're like, I don't want to wait till spring. Probably a good idea because you're not going to have as much competition, which means you might be able to get an even favorable deal, right? So spring comes, negotiations hit hard. Coming out of the first part of the year, it slows down. And in a lot of ways, I don't want to say they're desperate, but they're trying to make deals work. And this is where you kind of have to understand like the difference between like the salesperson that you're talking to on the other side of you're here and the company that they work for. Because the salesperson, like any other person in sales, does not get paid unless they're selling something, right? So they're incredibly motivated to get a deal done. Their company might be like, we'll just haw around and figure it out. And you need them, like you need that salesperson on your side being like, hey, I need a paycheck and I want to sell this house. Let me go fight for my people to get this house done. So changing prices at the beginning of the year, like fluctuating them back up and then pulling them back. And honestly, a lot of this whole video is kind of going to be centered around that idea. So here's the thing. Price increases, I don't think it's not the thing that kills a deal. It's the weak incentives and it's the waiting thing, right? So it's like, if you're going to raise the price back up, you better have a really good incentive to go with it. Otherwise, we're just going to like wait you out and negotiate our way back to what we saw kind of at the end of the year with what we can do. The other challenge with that too is a lot of times you'll see builders at the beginning of the year don't necessarily want to buy rate promos, right? So like all of those rate promos we saw at the end of the year, the 299s, the 399s, the 499s, like they have an expiration. So the way those work, so a little bit of like insider information, the way those work is they pre-buy all of these rates with their lending partners. They use as much as they can, and then that money expires, whether it's a 60-day expiration or 40 or whatever. So if they bought, let's say they bought $10 million worth and they only used 8 million, well, then they lost that 2 million. So that's why there's some hesitancy they kind of, look back and see, well, what did we do? What could we establish? What could we make work? And then they get into this like hesitancy of like, oh, well, do we start the year with this or do we start the year with flex dollars? And then they start watching the market and they're seeing rates come down. It's like, well, maybe what, so they kind of get a little hesitant. So if you can take advantage of their hesitancy, you might be able to find another deal. Number two, thing I think that builders do that annoys me sometimes is this idea of protecting comps instead of protecting sales pace. And now I understand this, like I understand the tension, right? So what they're trying to do, the tension that the sales rep and the builder, the company that they work for, have is, they sell a house here. Well, they've got 50 other lots that they have to sell and they're going to be selling here for the next 12 to 18 months or whatever. And so they have all these different pieces under contract and they're like trying to move this piece and put it here and this piece and put it here and that piece and go there. And they're trying to protect that. I truthfully understand what they're trying to do, but then like they don't try and keep up with a certain pace. So it's like, hey, we gotta protect this. And it's like, well, we're trying to do a deal with you right now. And again, what we're asking for is not unrealistic. So this is not like a, hey, they wouldn't take my $300,000 off of a $400,000 home. Like they're never going to take that, right? But this is like when you ask within reason, you're like, oh, what we're asking for is very reasonable. And then they're not willing to say yes. And you're like, what, guys, what are we doing? Inventory then starts piling up and then everybody assumes like pricing is fixed. And it's like, guys, it's not. There's ways to navigate this. And I wish I could just give you like one blanket statement like, hey, if you do this, they will say yes. But it's so much more nuanced than that. It's really dependent on the builder, depending on the price point, it's depending on the community. There's so many pieces that kind of go into that. So like, I can't just give you one like blanket statement, do this thing and you're going to succeed. I just want you to know, like, there's things that you can negotiate for them and there's things that you can work in that will give you some leverage. So there's a lot of like off book kind of value items that you can get. So important to know, Texas is what we call a non-disclosure state, which means nobody outside of you and the people involved in your transaction have to know what the details of your transaction. So let's say you have two houses, both of them are listed at 450, right? Well, buyer number one comes in and negotiates for $25,000 in closing costs, blinds, washer, dryer, and fridge. And then the builder says yes. Well, buyer number two could be coming and looking at the same house and they don't know that buyer number one got all of that. So they may just say, hey, you know what? Can we get $15,000 and blinds? And the builder's like, well, crap. Yeah, we'll take that deal all day long. So negotiate. What I'm trying to tell you is negotiate for the things that provide the most value to you. We've talked before in a ton of our videos, like, hey, the price reduction is always not always the best value. What is the best value is what makes the most sense for you, whether that's a buy down or it's closing cost or it's, the appliances or whatever it is. Like those discounts are very, very real. When I look back at our numbers from 2025, one of the things that I tracked across all of our transactions is monies saved or incentive dollars within what our clients did, right? And we got really, really close to seven figures in incentive dollars and savings in 2025 alone. So the discounts are very, very real. You're not going to see them show up on Zillow or Redfin or anything like that. Like the best ones are kind of those invisible ones that get hidden in your transaction and you can take advantage of, right? So it's that weird tension. I get it of like, hey, we need to protect our comps because on the other hand, I want them, like if I'm buying in that neighborhood, I want them protecting my comps. Like all we have ever bought is brand new homes. So yeah, I watch those neighborhoods and I'm like, yeah, don't screw me because I bought earlier on. So I want them protecting that. But I also want them protecting the pace of making sales. And it's a very, very delicate balance. Number three, thing that irks me when it comes to builders. And this is a lot of times with our production builders that like, hey, they do a ton of inventory and this can be good or it can be bad. It's like they flood a community with the same floor plans. It'll be like the same elevation. It's the same price. It's like the same. And I'm like, guys, if you couldn't sell the first 5, why are we building 15 more? Because at some point the fatigue sets in. And where this gets really hard is for you when you're trying to do the resale side, right? So some of the builders that, that own their own whole neighborhoods, you guys know who we're talking about. And it's like just rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. And it's like, there's no, and people complain, they'll be like, there's nothing unique about it. There's no character, right? And this is where builds and new builds get kind of a bad rap. It's like, well, what happens? Well, we felt like we could do this, and so we just built a bunch of them. And it's like, okay, well, can we get some variety? Just a little bit. Like if one didn't sell, they're not gonna, like, it's not all gonna sell. And then people are like, oh my gosh, why did it stall? I am so surprised. Really? And this is where you as a buyer, if you're looking at something like that, you have to have the kind of the mental mindset of, hey, I'm buying this as a canvas to make my own. Right? So this is usually typically on our more affordable side in terms of price point, where you're looking, you're seeing, hey, a lot of things are very, very similar. And you're like, hey, so mentally I'm buying this at this price, but I know that especially if I'm looking to sell in a few years, I need to be the person putting in value to create a unique thing, right? But to your advantage, use this as leverage, right? So the more homes they have on the ground, the more potential leverage you might have, especially if they have tons of the same floor plan. So then you start looking for differentiating factors. There's my $10 SAT word of the day. So look for the lot that might not get more sun, or might be on a corner or on a less crowded street. Or what you can really start to do is, a lot of builders, as the years go on, they change and shift their standard features, which is another thing that irks me. So if you find a home that might have been done sooner, like let's say they started in 2025, well, then it has the 2025 standard features, and those might be better than the 2026 standard features. Or in some cases, it might be worse. Like you might find like, hey, in their 2026 package, they started doing this, and so we want this house. So use it to your leverage. So you start seeing the same house 2, 3, 4 times. The fourth one might be, again, everything today centers around like, just know how to ask and negotiate and get the deal you want within reason. I can't stress that last part enough. Within reason, we want them to give us those things, and I just want you to be realistic and within reason of what you're asking for. Number 4, the idea when builders choose to price the community, like pricing phase 1, like everything is finished, and you're like, well, there's still construction everywhere, and we don't even have amenities, and like I got nails in tires, and there's like, they're framing a house at 6:30 in the morning. And like, why? Well, truthfully, they're just trying to test. They're trying to see, hey, can we get people to bite at these higher prices? Can we start making money quicker? Because at the end of the day, that's what they're in this business for, whether you like it or not. Yes, they're trying to give you a home that you love, but they're also trying to make money, right? So testing it, trying to see, maybe they had some higher prices with lot premiums, and they're trying to figure that out. So like those early phases, like phase 1 should be the place where you try and get the most advantage, especially if you're trying to build. Early could be one of your best options. Early potentially could be also one of your riskiest options. So you kind of have to weigh that out. So if you're looking at it like, oh, hey, there's the brochure that says we're going to have a lazy river and a bowling alley and an arcade. And it's like, well, where is it? Oh, well, they're going to do it eventually. When? I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just saying be cautious, right? So, and then don't fall into that pricing model. Like, sometimes you're going to have to pay a premium. Yes, you want the corner lot that's on the cul-de-sac. There's going to be a premium with that. Like, should you pay $100,000 premium? I don't think so. Should you pay something to get that? Yeah, probably so. Just kind of the nature of where it goes. So please stop pricing like the community is finished and all the amenities are in and the school is already built, because it's not there yet. It's going to get there, and you're going to see the price appreciate, but let's not do that early on. Number 5. Before we get to 5, I just quick like PSA to you guys. You're starting your year and you're trying to figure out, hey, what's next and how do we get into looking for new homes? Once you check out our website, I promise no spam, no blowing you up, no nothing like that. But what we did build is a place where you can go look at builders, you can go look at floor plans, communities, things that are built, things that are about to be built, and you can just start browsing. Maybe that's your next step. And I want to make that as clean and as easy for you as possible. So QR code always just kind of right there on screen, or like right there, whatever, like however you want it, just go browse. And when you're ready, we'll have a conversation. Nothing before then, but yeah. Okay. So number 5, I think this one bugs salespeople a lot too. And so I need to set the right expectation. The salesperson in the office in their community has zero control over what their management does. Like, I think you guys know that, but sometimes it just needs to be reiterated. So what I mean by that is they just have to follow whatever they're being told. Like, hey, today your incentive is 3-2-1 buy down. And they're like, cool. And then a week passes and it's like, oh, no, that's not your incentive anymore. Oh, and by the way, we're raising your prices. And they're like, trying to sell houses here. We couldn't sell them at this price, but you're going to raise them, right? So incentives tend to change without warning. Some of that is predicated on like what we talked about earlier is like, hey, they're buying they're pre-buying rates to where they have X amount of dollars, and once those dollars are gone, that rate is gone. Well, why? Because now the market on the rates have shifted, and now they need to either buy more or they don't have it. Maybe, they realized, hey, we needed to sell this many, we needed to move this many units, and we did that, and we covered, from this community, but we actually pulled it from all the communities on the north side. And so now we've done that. Or, hey, we need to actually slow it down. Like, we've sold way too many homes. Or, my favorite one is like, well, the builder next door changed their pricing, so we need to change ours too to remain competitive. And it's like, well, doesn't make sense. So here's the hard tension on that. The incentives you get today may or may not get better tomorrow. I just have to tell you that, like, you have to get to the point where you like the house for the house, not just for the money that they're putting into it, right? So like if the incentive got disappeared, if they stripped it away, do you still like the house? Do you still like the location? Do you still like the school district? Do you still like the neighborhood? Would you still buy that house, or would you walk away? That's what you kind of have to ask yourself. And now then it becomes like, well, if we're under contract and you see the incentive on a build get better, do you get to go renegotiate? Probably not. We can ask and we can see, but the likelihood of them saying yes is no. Because from a builder standpoint, they wouldn't come, most of the time, they're not going to come back to you and be like, hey, like, listen, your neighbors, like, they got a worse deal, so we need to renegotiate with you. So it fluctuates. So if you kind of hear this, especially just kind of listen as the sales agent is talking to you about it. Ask them like, hey, how long have you guys been doing this thing? Or how long do you foresee you're going to keep doing it? And some of them will be like, hey, we've been doing this for the last couple months and our management's told us we're doing it for the quarter. Other times they'll be like, listen, I don't even know. I got an email this morning. And so it's like this weird manufactured kind of scarcity. Like, yes, there's scarcity, but there's also like abundance, and it's all, when you understand like the levers, like they're all just trying to pull market. Let's like, okay, we can do this, and then we evaluated and that worked, so let's go do this. Or and it makes everybody kind of feel a little uncomfortable and a little on edge. So on the one hand, don't buy into the hype, but on the other hand, if you're ready and you know what you want, like, you need to move and we need to go, right? So don't rush it, but also don't drag your feet. And I feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, and I don't mean to do that. I just mean to be kind of realistic. So because truthfully, we've had times where it's like, we were working on a deal on Friday. We were going to take the weekend, figure it out. And by Monday, I'm getting a phone call from the sales rep saying, hey, management says this is changing. We've got 24 hours before they fall into the new pricing. And whether it gets worse, just when you're ready, you'll be ready. And like, if it can change tomorrow, you kind of don't need to decide today, right? And this goes back to like point one, where we're talking about, oh, well, let's increase pricing or let's decrease price. Like, they're all just yanking on every which lever they can to try and figure out how to do that. And as we see rates tick down in the market, you're going to continue to see them yank on these levers and try and move things around to make homes as affordable as they can and move as many units as they can. So just keep an eye on that as we go through this. Number 6 thing that kind of drives me nuts is it goes back to this scarcity thing. Is like, you need to understand, like, this is a buyer's market right now. At some point it's going to shift and there's going to be more competition, but until it does, we have a buyer's market. And so we have this like overbuilding in these hot suburbs, and there's a misread or a misinterpretation on some of the patience from our buyers, right? Builders assume that everything's just going to be sold and be absorbed and it's going to be awesome. And then it doesn't. And then inventory quietly just starts stacking up, and then cancellations come in. And then, some of you guys as buyers, well, I'm just being honest, you're stubborn, and builders don't get that. Sometimes the builders are stubborn, and we got to just kind of put all of our egos aside. But like, especially if you're looking in the north of DFW, there is some heavy inventory up there. Now, granted, pricing is on the higher tier of where people can afford, right? So inventory starts stacking. Again, you play that to your advantage. Inventory, negotiation power. And some of those best deals aren't the ones that you're finding on Zillow and MLS. The best deals, honestly, are the ones that are showing up in my inbox when the builder sends a message and they're like, hey, I just got to cancel it. Can I read you? Can I read you a text? Because this is what we see happening. And I can't tell you the builder and I can't tell you the sales rep, but like, he's a buddy of mine, if he was watching this, he'll say something. This text I got, hey, I have a 5-bed 4-bath, 2.5, 5-bed full 4-bath, 2.5 bath coming back on the market. We had somebody that couldn't close, wondering if you have anybody. I'm like, oh, tell me about it. And so he tells me the price on it, and the price is very high. And he says, here's the price. We haven't reduced it any, but I can probably get $125,000 off of it. And I'm like, 125 is crazy work. And he said, I know, I recently had another deal like that where management approved 130,000. Now, granted, this is a north of 600 price point, but I'm telling you, I get those texts and those emails almost every single day when it's like, hey, we had this happen. And so they get overbuilt. And again, they're trying to use that as leverage to start moving homes, and especially those individual sales reps. And this is why it's so important that you're working with an agent that has those relationships with those sales reps that can go to bat. I'm going to read you another one. We're working on this deal right now for a client. And I was like, and this is one of those ones that I just was like, hey, I think I saw this house at this price before the end of the year, and then it jumped up. So this goes back to what he's like, oh yeah, you're not dreaming that, but here's what we're doing. He's like, I'm like, tell me what we can do. He's like, well, here's what I have. And then I said, I think we can do a little bit better. He goes, I'll do my best. Chances are with you as their agent, we can probably make it happen. Coming from a builder that I am probably top 5 of their sales with. So not trying to be like, oh, I don't care. Use me, don't use me. But make sure you have somebody who knows what they're doing that can understand like, hey, this overbuilt hot suburb, how can we make this work to our advantage? When builders choose to get impatient, that's when you have leverage. All right, number 7. This one is interesting for me because I don't sell anything on the resale side, but I do recognize that resale homes exist in the same zip code. Like I'm not naive to that. Sometimes I think builders get a little naive to that and they forget, oh yeah, there's a resale home in our neighborhood. And new homes, truthfully and traditionally, and it's flipped a little bit, tend to be priced a little bit higher than the resale homes in the same neighborhood. A lot of that is to help cover some of the rate promos and extensions and buydowns. And so all of the stuff that they're doing there, it gets baked into your price. And then they just be like, our competition does not exist. Or they'll be like, the other builder does not exist in our neighborhood. And we only do things just like this and we can't see anybody. And I'm like, guys, they still exist. Like they don't compete directly one-to-one with a resale home, but there is a little bit of comparison, right? And you can use that in some ways to your advantage. They compete with their incentives, right? So they try and be like, oh, look, we can do this number. Like, cause on the resale side, the likelihood of being able to go to an individual and say, hey, can I get $30,000 to buy down my rate and cover my closing costs? They're gonna be like, no, because we have to make like this much money and we think our house is worth this much. Like they know that, like builders know you can't go to them and ask that, and they use that to their advantage. So this is kind of like, hey, look at the neighborhood and see what's there. Maybe you go resell, maybe I'm using it as a data point. I'm not saying buy resell. I'm just saying use it kind of as a data point. Be like, oh, well, this house is here, this house is there. Especially if you can find homes that were like built by that builder in that neighborhood, you might be able to definitely use that to your advantage. Number 8 thing that annoys me about builders is this manufactured scarcity when absorption is slowing. So, hey, we've only got like a few homes left, or we just started the neighborhood, but we can only sell 10 lots right now. And they're going to go super, super quick. And it's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. Scarcity in some ways is staged, and it is a fine line that they walk. So I'm just trying to tell you, timing is important, right? Don't feel rushed, but also don't drag your feet. If they're willing to like be like, oh, this, and this, it's not true. Now, there are some times when like the perfect storm happens and it's like, oh, well, somebody else just happened to be looking at that house just at the same time we were. I can see that happening occasionally. And the good sales reps are the ones that are honest and have integrity and talk to us about that. The bad ones are the ones that make you feel slimy and greasy when you go through this deal and you're like, what did I just say yes to? So scarcity is not like, it is still a buyer's market. You still have opportunities. Now, you get into a very hot and growing neighborhood with limited opportunities. Yeah, the scarcity is going to be there a little bit, but for the most part, use it to your advantage. And lastly, the thing that bugs me early in the year is like the general feeling of like buyers early in the year. They're like, whatever, we'll figure it out. Because what's going to happen, they're going to come out of the gate slow, and then 4 to 6 weeks is going to happen. It's going to be like the middle of February, and they're going to be like, well, dang it, we didn't sell any homes. Why not? We got to go be aggressive. People are sitting on the sidelines. They're all figuring out their New Year's resolutions. They're all just trying to decide. And so traffic right now is super low in a lot of models. They're not seeing a ton of people. So they're trying to do whatever they can. The salesperson's trying to do whatever they can to captivate on that. And so like, to me, if you can be early in the year, while everybody else is kind of slow and still getting over the holidays, you're going to win. Don't let the builders take advantage of you. Go get what you need, go get the money, go get the deal, and find what makes sense for you. Now, none of these things are bad. And here's the deal. We're going to do another video, and I'm going to talk about some things that you guys do that annoy me, like as buyers. Like, as nice as I know how to do this, I'm going to just tell you, like, these are the things like buyers do that annoy me. This is what builders do that annoy me. And so here's the stuff that like nobody clearly explains. So I'm trying to give this to you as clear and as concise and as straightforward as I can to help you win. That's all this is about. Is like, hey, I want to help you win the house you love and make a great deal happen. So you're here in DFW, or you're trying to get to DFW. We're here to represent you, answer any questions, contact information always down below. And again, none of this means they're bad. It just means they're predictable. And if you understand how you can predict them, it means you can like read the pattern. You don't have to overpay. You don't have to rush. You won't regret it, and you're going to win. So if you're relocating, this is exactly what we help people navigate. And our goal, I'm just going to tell you so you can help make it happen. Our goal this year is 7 figures of incentive dollars or money saved for our buyers. Like I said, we got really, really close to 7 figures total of monies, like incentive dollars and savings and price reductions and things like that. Last year, the goal is to crush 7 figures in incentives and dollars saved this year for you guys. So if I can help in any way, please let me know. And again, this is going to be a whole series of things that just nobody explains to you. I want to give it to you as clear as possible. So let's make it happen for you this year. If you have questions, please contact down below, comments, let me know. And if you found value and you want to know when the next one comes out, subscribe and we'll get you taken care of, guys. We'll see you in our next video. Adios.